Happy Sunday to you all. If you can deal with the news that we had yesterday and still be happy. I guess that we did some major, as I say we, I mean the United States, did a whole bunch of bombing last night to Iran and their nuclear facilities, which is under massive amounts of rock. And Trump said we've completely obliterated their nuclear program, like there's nothing left. And then I hear, okay, well, maybe it was the damage caused wasn't quite what Trump had said. People are walking it back. When you hear John Bolton walking it back and being like, they still have the capacity, we need that regime change, you wonder whether or not Trump is telling us the truth. Now, I know he's going by what his cabinet is telling him. So if the cabinet said, oh yeah, Mr. President, complete success on that, obliterated that. JD Vance was like, we had a limited window in which we could take out this Fordo facility. I thought you were on the side of anti-intervention, JD Vance. I thought that you were with the Maga people on no more foreign wars. I guess they convinced him, or Trump convinced him. I don't know. He seemed to be one of the holdouts, one of the millennials, representing the millennials who don't want war. You know, I woke up this morning after I had listened to numerous podcasts talking about the bombing. I heard Charlie Kirk cover it first, and I know Charlie Kirk is not a big fan of this intervention, this offensive bombing of a country that didn't do anything to us. But it was interesting hearing from him. Darn, I fell asleep before Steve Bannon could come on. And I know Bannon and Tucker Carlson were the biggest voices who are MAGA, who are like, don't do this. Don't get involved in this Israeli-Iran conflict. Please, Mr. President. Don't listen to people like Lindsey Graham. And I don't know what Marco Rubio is telling you, but you know that Tulsi Gabbard was telling you that they weren't close to a nuclear weapon. They weren't anywhere near close to that. She told you that back in March. Something changed, maybe. I don't know. Scott Ritter, a few other people were saying the same thing as Tulsi, that they're nowhere near nowhere near the capacity to build nuclear weapons. They're not there yet. I'm also listening to the Duran, and the Duran usually does not steer me wrong. They're really good about talking around the propaganda when it comes to the Ukraine and Russia war. Like, they're not afraid to tell everyone that Russia is winning this war. And if Russia wanted to, they would win this war like that. But I think Russia wants to do this with the least amount of casualties as possible, which is becoming impossible, unfortunately, because, you know, Ukraine wants to just keep fighting. I don't know whose money they're fighting with. Must be NATO's money, because I think we're going to be too involved in this Iran conflict now, and we're going to have to put our money towards that. Our bankrupt nation who can barely pass a budget and is kicking the can down the road as far as where we're going to get the money to fund our government projects, going to get involved in another forever war. This is the craziest thing to attack Iran. And I'm so frustrated because I can't talk to my dad or the boomer generation about this because they're on board with it. They believe that Iran was like days away from having a nuclear weapon, which is something that Netenyahu has been talking about for 30 years. I don't know who to believe. I really don't. But it seems like what Trump said yesterday, which was this was a complete success and our boys are on their way home and we obliterated their program. It sounds like that's not really the case. If I'm going by what Duran said, and it sounds like the Duran is correct because they walked back an awful lot of what they said about last night's bombings, the success rate or whatever. Duran said, yeah, they were able to affect like the entrances and the exits in the area with the nuclear facility. However, the facility itself is still standing. The capacity to be able to continue with their nuclear program has not been obliterated, like Trump said. So it's going to be hard for them to get in and out of the area. And all their scientists were blown up by the Israelis. So I guess that'll affect their capacity to make nuclear weapons as well, right? I just don't see how this is beneficial to America. How is this my America First agenda that I voted for? This to me is like Israel first, allies first, NATO first, all of that. Why are we still in this Russia-Ukraine conflict? And we haven't even finished that conflict because we're involved in that. We have been involved. We taught them to use the drones that they use to blow up Russian assets. That's us. We did that. So even if we're not directly in the war, we are indirectly in that war. And we're still in that war. And Trump was supposed to end that. I get it. It's hard. Going by like what the Duran says, and they just think that Trump's foreign policy is we don't understand it right now. Like, why can't he make peace with Russia? What is the deal? And why are we starting shit with Iran right now? I'm with you, Gen Z. I don't want to see this. This is not what I voted for. Luckily, I am not a one-issue voter. Okay, I'm really happy with what Trump's done with the border, and I'm really happy with the fact that inflation hasn't gone up anymore. You know, everything costs a lot, yeah, but does it cost that much more than it had when Biden was president? No. Things are still unaffordable. Apartments are still unaffordable. Houses are still unaffordable. It's really, really hard to raise family, make a living. Families are moving in with each other. It's just, well, you make do. You do what you can. But as a millennial, it's like, when are we going to be alone houses? You know, some of us can, and that's great. I know some people that do, and good for them to pull the trigger on it when it was probably the best time to do it before prices went boop, 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 boop. Because prices are really high right now. However, millennials can't buy, and boy, Gen Z can't buy either. So I don't know who's buying these really expensive houses. BlackRock? BlackRock, is that you? Are you buying these houses so that you can rent them out to people at premium prices? You might be doing that. I'm just, I'm not convinced that we have done the right thing here. And I am not going to just blindly believe that my government isn't going to lie to me, isn't going to propagandize, isn't going to be embellishing the truth a little bit so to save face or national pride or whatever it is. I will be critical of Trump and say, I hope you know what you're doing. I really do. You seem to know what you're doing in other aspects. I don't know about this. This feels like the opposite of what was going on the last time that he was president. This feels like instigation. It feels like provocation. It doesn't feel like we're defending ourselves. It feels like we are getting ready for another regime change. Trump says that that's not what this is about, but it sure feels like it. You know, I'm starting to feel the feelings that I got around the time of the Arab Spring or Syria. You know, Libya is a mess now, thanks to us, probably. Every time we get involved, we don't seem to know what we're doing. Then we just occupy. And then we put somebody in charge that is like friendly with the West, and guess what? He gets overthrown, and then what? And then that country goes to the biggest, baddest thug who could get everybody in line. That's the whole way that the Middle East has been running ever since we continue to get involved with it. I say just let them be, let them do their own thing. You know what? If everybody else is so worried, if they're so worried that Iran is making a nuclear weapon, then why aren't they doing anything about it? Diplomacy wise, where are you on this, NATO? Are you going to talk to them, or is it just up to the big bad United States to do their usual thing, which is get involved and be the world police? I don't know what's going to happen, but I just pray that this is it. Okay, you made your big strike, you wrecked the entrance and the exits to the largest area of the nuclear facility. Can we just stop now? Can you actually, Trump, can you actually be working with them on some sort of deal? Because it sure doesn't seem like you were planning on that at all. Because Israel bombed them right when we were supposed to be talking to Iran. And apparently Trump knew about that. So what does that say about Trump? What does that say about our foreign policy? Can't trust the U.S.? Can't even trust my president? Because I thought he said that we didn't have anything to do with it, and now I find out that this is stuff that we've been planning for months. So I don't know. I wonder how many of you other diehard Magas are pretty upset about this right now. And I'm not saying like all of you people that are supporting this and happy about it are warmongers, because you're not, but I don't understand. Because to me, bombing Iran is not America first.